Good evening. Today is Thursday, June 18th. This is a meeting of the Revere City Council's Ways and Means Subcommittee. Our one item on the agenda is the FY'16 budget. We are going to start off with the parking clerk this evening. Welcome, John. Oh.
Good evening. I think the accomplishments last year speak to the activities of the Office of the Parking Clerk. It was a year that our parking control officers and with the assistance of the Revere Police Department issued 25,690 parking violations, which generated nearly $900,000 in revenue for the city. We don't have as rosy or as optimistic a forecast for this year, due in part to the remnants of the tornado damage, the Broadway street repairs, obviously the 2015 snowstorms, which did serious damage in the city, and as a result, we lost 2 parking vehicles to the storm. So we're down to 1 parking vehicle, and most of our people are swapping vehicles and doing actual street walking duty. So projecting forward for the current year, we estimate that we'll generate in the vicinity of $420,000 in parking revenue, which will be roughly about $175,000 less than this year, and we'll probably issue only about 18,000 parking violations. And it was basically, we lost the good part of January, February, and into March in terms of issuance of parking violations. Damage on the streets made it impossible for us to even consider violations in a lot of the areas of the city, and the loss of the vehicles made it even more difficult. So it's not going to be a good year with respect to the revenue issues. Any questions? I'll be glad to respond.
Thank you, John. I will introduce our members of the committee who are in attendance. We have Councilors Haz, Councilor Guanasso, Councilor Morabito, Councilor Reardon, and Councilor Zambuto. We also have Councilor Patch with us this evening. Any councilors with questions? Councilor Haz.
John, as far as the reduction in parking meter tickets, could that be accelerated because of the deficit in that account?
The reduction of parking
Money coming in, yeah.
Well, it'll be about $175,000 under what we generated last year.
Right. Is there any way we can cut into that by issuing more?
Until we have more vehicles, and Frank Stringy has applied for and received a grant, and we're going to receive 2 all-electric vehicles. And as soon as we have these vehicles, we can put our people on the street doing more ticketing. And we are also proposing to go on to Revere Beach Boulevard and the Revere Beach Reservation. We have a legal opinion that gives us the right to issue tickets down there. We're going to be presenting to the Traffic Commission the list of violations, which are exactly the same as the DCR, and we'll be able to issue on the boulevard also. So that could pick up some more volume.
The other thing, since you have the reservation from Bianchi's up to Revere Street, they allow North Shore commuters to park on both sides. Will that be eliminated?
We can't change their regulations. All we can do is we could issue for handicap parking there. We could issue for timed parking down there, 2-hour parking, 1-hour parking, parking on handicap ramps.
Well, how can you change that then?
They are, the DCR is in sole control of the signage there. but we have the authority to issue violations there. That's the only thing we can do.
I think we should do that. It'll pick up much-needed revenue.
Well,
Without
I
question.
think the DCR has been resistant over the years to any type of changes in parking schemes or plans because of that it is the first public beach in the United States, and they don't want to do anything that's going to change or interfere with free public access to the beach. The city in the past has proposed placing parking meters or parking kiosks on the beach to try to generate revenue, which would go back to the beach, but they rejected that.
I would be against that myself, but
Right.
to eliminate the all-day parking from commuters who are staying away from the MBTA parking spots.
Well,
I mean, that's on both sides. That's a lot of cars. You go by to see Marblehead and all the North Shore commuters, stickers.
that is state police jurisdiction, and they have primary responsibility to issue parking violations down there. But as I said, we're going to be proposing to our traffic commission a set of regulations which would give us the authority to overlap the state police.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councilor Has. Councilor Guanasso.
In the same vein that we're speaking about in parking violations, and it just seems to me that it drives me crazy that when I go down Ocean Avenue and I see the whole left side of Ocean Avenue with all cars at 8:30 in the morning, it's not a non-bathing day. These people are not at the ocean front, they're at work, and they're utilizing a street that's heavily under construction now, a narrow space to get by as it is. It would be beyond me how it's allowed that they be parking there, and it's beyond me why they're parking for free, circumventing going to the areas where we derive revenue from. I just don't understand why we haven't. In fact, Ocean Avenue is, as far as I know, is under the jurisdiction of the city of Revere.
No.
It's not.
DCR,
Even Ocean Avenue.
yes.
So in the same vein that we ask them about the boulevard, let's talk about Ocean Avenue and tell them that we need to have some sort of relief there because the people are parking as early as 7:30 in the morning. You go by at 8:30 in the morning, it's completely full. That's only one thing. They're going to Boston and they're not paying the city of Revere any fees to park there. Yet what they are doing is infringing upon our public safety because they narrow the street very drastically because one side's full construction. So I think we should, when we go to traffic, we should talk to them about that also. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Councilor Guanasso. Councilor Vice President Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My view on parking is, it's a public safety issue. I don't like to look at parking tickets as a way to enhance revenue. It may do that. However, that's not, I don't see that as the parking purpose for having parking enforcement. I think it strictly should be public safety. But I find it ironic that the DCR wants to be careful about what they do at America's first public beach. And I got restaurants that are starving to death because they're towing cars at 10 o'clock at night from the beach, and people come here from other cities and towns, and they never come back. So, I mean, it appears to be a double standard. So, again, I see parking violations only for public safety and not for revenue enhancement. If it should bring in some revenue, that's fine, but I'd hate to think that that's what we're striving for is revenue enhancement. We should be simply striving for public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo. Councilor Morbido.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can see what my fellow colleague is. I can relate with him. I would not like to see revenue gained by ticketing as well, but we do need the revenue. It's kind of a catch-22 because I want the revenue with the city, but at the same time, I don't want to be down the beach and move my car every 2 hours. But that's the signage, and you have to abide by the signage and the ordinance. But my concern is, so what is the time frame if we implement this? How long will it take?
I would have to present to the Traffic Commission a proposal which would exactly duplicate the current DCR signage and parking regulations. Once they approve it, we could be on the street thereafter. Bear in mind that the City of Revere parking control people issued tickets on Revere Beach Boulevard for roughly 9 years. We had an agreement with DCR that we would issue DCR tickets, and during the time period that the Revere Beach Development Project was in the planning phase through the first construction and the turnover of the property to the city was sharing 50-50 revenue with DCR. As soon as the transfer of the land came into existence, DCR notified us that they would no longer be giving us any revenue at all, and that's when we started to do research to determine whether or not we had the authority on our own to do ticketing using our own tickets. And we have a legal opinion that says yes.
Excellent. Yeah, that would make no sense for us to do all the work and them to get the revenue. So if this is successful, basically, could citizens get double parking violations, one from DCR and one from the city?
Quite frankly, I don't know what level of enforcement is going on the beach. We used to do the early morning parking violations that restricted commuters coming from the North Shore from parking on the Boulevard and Ocean Avenue between 9 and 10:30 or thereabouts, which forced them into the parking facilities by that method. But now, without the enforcement that we formerly provided, I'm sure that they're just coming down parking wherever they want, and since there's nobody to ticket anymore, they're not parking in the garages or the parking lots.
Thank you. Just one more question. On the vehicles, we hope to get 2 more vehicles, correct? How many do we currently have?
We have 1 operational vehicle.
1. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Morabito. John, in terms of the enforcement down the beach, you don't need any extra bodies to do that? Or
No.
will you be looking for extra bodies if it becomes successful?
We don't. We can just shift people around. We have actually 2 full-time people and 1 part-time person. We could assign the part-time person on the early morning shift along the Boulevard and Ocean Avenue and cover that adequately without asking for any additional personnel.
And then in terms of revenue, I thought I heard you say that you were collecting $900,000 this year?
Nearly. No, last year.
Last year?
Last calendar year,
And then-
$887,000.
And so we're only expecting $420,000?
We anticipate $714,000 in revenue collected this year, which will
Okay.
fall short by about 173,
Okay.
75,
All right. So
175.
the 420 was probably the net number that you were talking about?
I didn't indicate a net figure, no.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Councilor Morabito.
I left out one question. How much revenue were we gaining? I'm not sure if you divvied up the tickets. How much revenue were we gaining from ticketing the Boulevard before?
We would receive depending on the volume of ticketing, in the roughly about 100,000.
Wow. So that would take care of the deficit. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next up, we will have the DPW. Superintendent Goodwin.
What's going on? Which side do you want to start with?
So I don't know if you want to do a spiel at first, any changes or any
Well,
big items you want to talk
obviously,
about?
there's a lot of changes in here regarding personnel. for our consent decree with the federal government. There'll be, there's 7 new positions in here for the Water and Sewer Division. We also have an additional $100,000 that hasn't been part of our budget on an annual basis that we decided to put in this year for pothole repairs, trench repairs, and manhole and catch basin repairs. There's $50,000 in the Department of Public Works side of it and then there's $50,000 on the enterprise fund. I know these are not, let me say, they're not numbered, but I'll find it. Let me get in here. Rubbish collection. Well, I know that the pages are not numbered, yes. But I numbered mine, it'd be 14. It would be under contract, pothole and trench repair. Department, it's itemized under 014202 /525-300 contract and pothole. That's a new item to this year's budget. $50,000 for pothole and trench repair on the DPW general side. And on the same thing in the enterprise fund, there's an additional $50,000 in there for manhole and catch basin repair. Other than that, I'm just here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any councilors? Council Morbido.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to just congratulate you on a great job this past winter that we had. You and the DPW, city guy, you guys did an excellent job between the tornado, the keeping up with the snowstorms. I can't express my gratitude, and I'm sure the citizens are grateful as well. And one question, I know we received grant money for potholes. Did we use up all of those funds? Does that carry over?
What happened there was kind of, because it was Chapter 90 monies, we could only spend up to $10,000 without going out to bid. So we did spend $10,000 to go out and do pothole and trench repair work over the winter, which really just put a small dent in what we really needed to do. We did put the pothole and trench repair out to bid based on Chapter 90 qualifications, and because of the bonding issues and most of the companies that do that lay roads. They don't go out and repair and do potholes. So that's why I put $50,000 in for pothole repairs in our operating budget this year, so we can just put a normal bid out there, and it'll be available, come the 1st of July. I don't need to tell anybody in this room that potholes are, the number one problem right now. The issue that we do have is that in the last 23 days, we've had 20 water breaks. So this is just a carryover from this past winter where the frost went down so deep. They developed a lot of minor leaks around, and now with the contractors in doing the repairs, they're opening and closing hydrants and slamming their truck shut. So we've had an inordinate amount of water breaks. And what I generally try to do is I go in and try, it's like your juggling act, okay, how many guys you got available? We probably do need 2 or 3 pothole crews out there doing it. We get as many as we can get out there. We lost one of the guys in the highway crew this week to an injury. I don't know when I'll see him again. I'm going to try to take some guys out of water sewer billing next week and some others. So we're going to try to put at least 6 to 8 guys out there next week doing potholes, barring problems with, water breaks and things of that nature. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Morbido. Council Guanasso.
The other night, I spoke of, in terms of, I honestly believe that your department cannot handle the pothole relief that we need right away. I suggest that we go out to bid, and I suggest also that the city council aid you in that effort by making sure that the mayor appropriates some money to have this thing done. And we need this done as soon as possible. Now, this is coming in effective July 1st, and
Correct.
People have to understand that. That's the budget we're working on, effective July 1st. But there is a need out there, and the need is needed right away, and you know it more than I do. And again, like I stated the other night, this is the single most asked of question of me and request of me to have potholes repaired. And some of them are craters, and it's amazing that, you know, that, and the long and short of it is that people's vehicles are going to be destroyed by the time we get ready to replace these. So I'm thinking that we have to go out to bid. I don't see that the workforce that you have will be capable of keeping up and doing what we need to do. And we need to do it like July 1st, we have the money, get it started July 1st, and the first 2 weeks of July, blow it right out, cool the whole city. And that would, I think, would put people at ease in knowing that relief is on the way some 2 weeks from now. And so whatever we can do to help you, I pledge my support for it. And, you know, it's not nice to have to keep soul searching for money. And I know that you're in a position that, hey, look at Arthur, I can only do so much of the budget I have. I know that, and I appreciate that. But we have to do what we have to do to make sure that the city is protected in those terms, because that's their request. Citizens want their potholes filled.
They have every right to feel that way out there, as I do, and I know members of this council do. Like I said, it's just a matter of manpower and...
You don't have the manpower.
Well,
That's
the infrastructure,
obvious.
this year has been a very special year. Obviously, the snow that we got this year, the heavy equipment that was out in this year. If you go down and look in the yard, there's probably 50 covers and manholes and catch basins that are already, you can see there's a big pile there.
I know,
I've
and
never seen the
I was part
infrastructure.
and parcel to that, and thankfully you did mine.
I haven't seen the city take a beat like this in all
Yes.
my days, whether on the council or here. There are areas of the city that, you know, the pothole repairs are going to do no good. The streets are starting to unravel. So we really need to try to get on, you know, the state aspect of it and see if we can get more Chapter 90 monies, because these roads need to be resurfaced. They don't need to be just put potholes in. And it's just not here in Revere. I've talked with my contemporaries in the surrounding cities and towns. Everybody's experiencing the same problem.
I agree with you. That's a
Everything's
long-term
fractured.
effect, but I think we need something immediate because the potholes are a danger.
As soon as I know that the money is available to go out, I'll put an RFP out. We'll get it out.
Yeah,
and
we got to do, we have
and
to
we'll
do it right away. It's a demand out there.
And it's just not for potholes. We have a serious problem with catch basins
Yes.
and manhole structures as well.
Right. Again, you worked yeoman's deals to get what was done and performed for our community, and we're asking the miracles of you with the staff that you have available. So we understand, but sometimes people don't have a recognition that we have, because we experience it on several streets. They're only experiencing it in front of their home, as rightfully they should, and they want it fixed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Guanasso. Councilor Has.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Donnie, as far as the RFP you just mentioned, couldn't we go out right now for an RFP?
It's hard for me to go out with an RFP when I don't have funding that's approved.
Well, you can either
I
reject
can write
the
it up
RFP.
and do it, and as soon as the funding, it's very, we have it all together. We've already put it out to bid on 2 separate occasions, and we didn't get any responses due to the constraints of the Chapter 90 regulations for them to do it. So we do have the specifications all ready to go. So as soon as we know that we have the funding, we'll just put it, we'll put it out there, and it should be a very short period of time. Another thing is coming in a couple of weeks, we have the summer kids that are coming. They can be a big help. They've done a lot of sidewalks. We got the same crew coming back from the last couple of years. You know, a lot of sidewalk repairs will probably take a back step to getting these potholes repaired, but there are 3 or 4 good-sized kids coming back that we've used the last 2 or 3 years that will be able to, will help.
And also, Donnie, the mayor indicated he's going to hire 3 new people in the water services.
We have 7 new people coming in.
No, in water services,
As far as,
3.
well, we have 7.
All right.
I can run through them if you.
No, that's.
And that's for the consent decree,
Right.
which in itself will be very helpful, because, you know, you only have 5 guys in there now.
How many guys you, in effect, really need
I can
To
put
staff
out
it.
on an average day in the street, you gotta understand, we have 31 personnel, 9 of them are up here at City Hall, we have office staff. On a good day, I can put 12 to 15 people out in the street.
What would you need as a number that you would need in DPW to make it somewhat more efficient?
Well,
I mean,
that's
because we talk about
that's
this,
a very complex.
right, we talk
but, I
about
mean,
this every year, okay, and we get the same thing.
I had Mass Municipal Association come and do an audit for me several years ago,
Right.
and the number for the city of Revere is 85,
85. So anything you get from us,
is a plus.
okay, thank you. That's good.
Thank you, Councilor Has. Councilor Patch.
Someone has to shut their mic off.
Again, I want to thank you for the wonderful job you did this winter. Although it left a mess, as we all know. It's not only the potholes. I know it was brought up a lot at our last meeting about the potholes. And somebody brought in other towns, and nobody wants to hear about other towns, but, you know, but if you ride anywhere, in any town, they do have this similar problem. And I understand your superintendent in charge of the crew, potholes, Michael Cesari, he does the best job he can do with him and his two-man crew. So I was a little disappointed when I found out that they did put it out for bid, but no contractors wanted to do it at that price. So hopefully, when you do it this time, that, you know, you put a reasonable price out there so somebody will grab it. Because it's not only the potholes. I think the major public safety problem is the storm drains, the caving in, and the sewer covers that are caving in, because somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, they're there for sometimes several weeks. I mean, and you get the same calls over and over, and we're very fortunate that nobody has got hurt because of this. So hopefully, when you put out that bid, they'll be taking care of that problem also. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To respond to Council Patch, that's what the other $50,000 is for in the enterprise side of the, and just so we can clarify the point of putting out the bid for the potholes, because of the Chapter 90 monies constraints, we had to follow their specifications for going out to bid, and they actually set the tone for, you know, you have to be DCAM certified, you have to be Mass Highway certified. The bonding and issue for, you know, a $30,000, $40,000 job just isn't worth people to bid on it. And most contractors that do repair work are not certified for DCAM, because most of the Chapter 90 monies, as you know, is for repaving and resurfacing highways and roadways. And if you call aggregate, they're not going to come out and fix potholes. But if you call Bitcom, they're not going to come out and do potholes. If you call Benefit, they're not going to do potholes. So when they bid based on these Chapter 90 specifications, nobody bids the job. Or somebody tries to take advantage and tries to give you such a price that, you know, you'd get nothing for your money out of it. And that was the case. And our purchasing agent noticed it and made us aware of it. And but where it's going to be a city contract, we don't have to adhere to, you know, these stringent requirements that come down from, you know, the Chapter 90. I feel very confident because there are several local contractors that are talking, you know, when is this going to come out? Is this going to come out? Because I've notified people already that, listen, we got money, if we get it, you're going to be ready to come in and bid. So the more people I can get to bid, the more competitive the bids, I think we'll be fine when it comes to the local contractors coming out to do the potholes and manhole repairs.
Thank you, Councilor Patch. Any other councilors? Councilor Zambudo.
Mr. Chairman, because we got started late, I had a senior moment. I wanted to ask for a moment of silence for the people in South Carolina. If we can do that, interrupt this and then get back to the... Now, I'll make a couple of statements. Of course, we're all grateful for the wonderful work that was done during this horrendous winter. I don't know of any other city that did as well as we did for the amount of devastation we had through this, I don't know, 1,000-year storm, you'll call it. I don't know. I don't think we've certainly, my lifetime, I will never see another winter like this. At least I pray to God we won't see another winter like this, but I don't believe there's any chance of that ever happening in our lifetimes. But everybody stepped up to the plate, but especially the DPW, and they're to be commended, and they're working with, at best, 20% of what should be here, and maybe even less than that, of what should be here for a workforce. So we're very grateful for that, and I like the idea of the pothole going out to bid with the changed specifications, because you are correct. There's absolutely no way anybody's going to be DCAM certified to bid on a $40,000 job. It's absurd. The amount of work that goes into just the certification, for those of us that have been in construction and had done it in the past, it's horrendous and it's a nightmare. And then the bonding and everything that goes along with it is just absurd. So you're going down the right road, and hopefully we get this going, right after the 1st of July, and we get some contractors in here, because these potholes, and we keep getting people that are destroying their cars and filing claims, and some of them are legitimate claims, some of them are not, but what we're ending up with is people that are just devastated. Our citizens are getting, ruining their cars, and a lot of out-of-pocket costs for them. So all I can say is keep up the good work, and we'll keep giving you as many men as we can give you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Zambudo. Donnie, thank you for your time, and thank you for all the work that you've done, especially this winter in the difficult conditions that we had. I have a fear that winter may be more frequent. That type of winter may be more frequent, but we'll see depending on the weather patterns and what happens in the future. But in terms of the 9 to 15 people that you're able to put out on a good day, and hearing that 85 is the number of where you should be, has there been any, is there any way or any thought about what we contract out and any kind of analysis done on what we spend contracting things out, and if we had took stuff in-house and what we pay, if we're putting out $100,000 to fix potholes, that might be 2 or 3 guys, and building up our workforce by kind of not contracting a lot of stuff out. Have we revisited that at all in terms of,
We have.
You need guys, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
only a certain pool amount of money. So how do we, get you the most amount of guys that we can, and also have good services out for people?
I think a combination of both is what really works right. It's just finding that that balance where you have a strong workforce that can, respond to any type of emergency or just general services of keeping the city clean and that nature. We do have some city services, I think, especially in the CMON program. Once we get this program going, there's some large amounts of money that we may be able to take from what we're spending with some outside vendors, still leave half that money, would bring it back in, bring some of that money back in, and that will pay for 2 of the personnel. George Anzoni and myself have been working on this new metering system that we're putting in for the water meters. We're putting in leak detection systems on the ground. It's going to be 300-400, so it'll give us, more warning as to, instead of responding to an explosion somewhere, you may be able to get it at a small leak. So once we get that all into play, we can take men out of water sewer billing downstairs that are out reading on an automated, and we can put them in. So there's 2 more, so there's 4. So there are ways to, to make this work. It's going to take time. I think we've started down that road. There's a lot of contracted services that, at one time were very useful and were, from a pricing standpoint, it was right, but now with all the new rules and regulations, with you got to pay prevailing wage and this and that, we're actually paying certain vendors and people more money than we would pay our own help. So it is something to look at down the road. We have started that process in the last 2 years, and you're not going to get to that point. We've been this way for a long, long time. It's been like that since Proposition 2.5. The last 3 mayors that have to suffer with cutbacks and building schools and doing all kinds of things that, we know it's going to be a slow process, but it has to start. And as long as it's steady and incremental over a reasonable period of time, I think we can get there based on that number of 85. I mean, if you take some of the new modern equipment and things of that nature, you don't have to get to the 85, but in that 50 range, I think would be, we could run a very, very efficient program with 50 people.
And that would be 50 guys that you'd be able to put out on the street, right?
Correct.
Which is,
That not
we're at 15
including-
now,
right.
so that scale
Right.
is not equal right now.
But you got 7 this year. If we pick up 4 next year, that's 11. So you're making progress. And then once again, hopefully, the economy changes around, you get some development, some things come in, and, you need to have additional revenues coming in. It has to be a shared problem. I know the school department's got mandated programs, the police, obviously, and fire have things, so there's only so much money to go around. We understand that, but at the same time, it's been a very difficult year, and the problem that I'm having is I have an aging employees.
Right.
We only have probably 3 or 4 guys under 30, under 40.
Right.
There's not, so we got a 50 to, most of the guys are in the 50, high 40s, early 50s, late 50s, and it takes its toll on.
In terms of that, have we, I know a lot of other cities and towns look to their high school and to kids who are, who may want to be firefighters eventually, or may not go to college right out of high school, and they may play football, so they're big guys, right? And you have kind of a way of swaying people into, working for the city, a younger workforce, and you end up having people who can, break their back for you. And have we thought about that at all? When we're filling, like these 7 positions now that we're going to fill, are we going to kind of put job descriptions out there and have an open process and have people be able to apply? Are we looking at, like I said, kids who may not be going to college or may just have graduated from college and they're living in the city and they can get a pretty good wage. They may eventually want to move on to be, like I said, a police or a firefighter. But for a few years, they can, 4 or 5 years,
we
they can
have
work for the city.
Bobby Holland is a good example of that at the Revere Fire Department. He came through our system. We haven't really had a lot of openings over the last few years, but yes, I mean, if you look at the new jobs, obviously the job the job descriptions, you have to have the skill sets in order to come in and do some of this work. We need, we need mechanics, we need electricians, we need guys that are licensed. We also need guys with these new televised trucks. We're going to need some young kids that have competent computer skills to go in there and run this GIS system, which I think that we are going to do. So some of the jobs that are new jobs, there are a few guys that will qualify for that in-house because they do have licenses and stuff. They just don't have the time to set aside to do that. So when we move certain guys to the other side of the house, that's going to leave openings up to, like what Bob Hass was referring to, 3 openings in the water department. So that's where you'll see 3. And what I think you need to do is bring in young guys in their 20s, early 20s, so by the time they learn the skills necessary to bring, as these guys retire, you'll have new, exactly, right, yeah.
I know a lot of other cities have that kind of, system in place where they're rotating kids out and they turn them out to the fire department or to the police department. They have, they get a good 5 years out of them. They make their way to the police or fire department, and you're backfilling those positions with the new set of guys who are coming out of either high school or college. So in terms of the 7 positions, it looks like they're funded for half the year. Is the assumption that it'll take a few months to get up and get everybody in? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, they're going to have to be posted in-house. We have to fine-tune the job skills that are required to do these certain tasks that are going to be required under this consent form. And, the thing about, it is true, I think that you can rotate, these young kids in and out to police and fire. But long-term, you need to have some professional people that can run the GIS system, maintain the pump stations, take care of the electronics that are involved with all our new pump stations with alarms and things that are on there. So you need to develop a professional staff that's going to want to stay here for, make a career out of it. Right. And I think this is the first step in doing that. And, I know that the regulators are very happy with this program. I know George worked his tail off because it came at the very end. He didn't have much time to put this together and bring the finances together to make this happen. But, and this will only be the beginning. I mean, I will be coming before you at some point after we sit down with you. We're going to need some capital expenses for new equipment. You're going to need catch basin cleaning trucks. You're going to need larger trucks. You're going to, I understand.
Is that part of the bonds that are coming up for public hearing, or is that separate?
I won't discuss the finances because that's George's, I don't want to speak out of turn. He may know something that I don't know when it comes to the finances, so I would leave that up to him. But we've been discussing it for the last several months, actually, because we're trying to get ahead of this. And I think probably within the next week to 10 days, we'll be able to finalize what we're going to need for this consent decree. And it will be significant. It won't be...
And so going back to your budget, one thing that I noticed, the fiscal year 15 actual numbers for the Parks Division, there's a line item for tree removal.
Yes.
I guess in my head, assumed that that line item would be a lot higher than it was due to the tornado costs. Is this amount, I assume that this amount is 42, it's only $42,000. I assume that amount does not include the work that was done for the tornado.
No.
Where is that
Okay, let me
money?
just find this here.
And George might know.
What,
but-
the tornado fund?
Yeah, like where,
George would know.
where is a tornado, like any tornado costs? They're not, I assume they're not in the
They're
budget.
not in our operating budget, no. They're not in the operating
Okay.
budget at all.
So none of those funds, or none of the work that was done hit the operating budget?
Correct.
It all hit, what did it hit? The tornado fund?
Sure, George.
Yeah. Because I know there was, when we were talking over $200,000 in tree services alone, I just had kind of assumed in my head that it would be in here, and I thought I'd see it, so.
We had a special, this mic again. We had a special fund set up for insurance proceeds that came in because of the tornado, and that's where the money is hitting. So that's what we're spending it out of that.
So how much of that got reimbursed through insurance?
What happened was some of that's being reimbursed through FEMA. The other part of it too is we haven't settled with the insurance company yet because we haven't closed our claim, and we don't want to close our claim until we make certain that all of the costs related to the tornadoes are submitted to the insurance company.
So, but that money had to come from somewhere.
We got a $700,000 from the insurance company as a prepayment.
Oh, so we got an upfront payment.
We got an upfront payment,
Set it up as
$700,000,
a separate fund,
Right.
and we paid everything out of that fund.
Right. And we also
with
have
the anticipation that we would be reimbursed.
Right.
Okay.
So, and we also have which the council passed last year, is a section of law that allows us, and with the approval of the DOR, to spend up to $3 million on the tornado repairs.
Right.
So we have both.
So out of that 3 million,
We haven't touched any of that yet.
Oh, we haven't touched it?
No.
We haven't gotten
No.
even into that?
No,
So
we
we're
haven't
still in
touched
that
any of
700 pot?
Right. So we had to bring it up on the tornado, because I was asked this again last night, we had a meeting today on the tornado, and we, as I said, we have one every Thursday at 1 o'clock in the council chambers. And what happened is, today we reviewed it's a public document, we asked it to be placed in the city clerk's office for viewing, a report on all the buildings other than City Hall, with all the costs and pictures of the damage and so on and so forth. The next step is we'll receive by next week a draft of what the City Hall damage is, and then there'll be a third phase where we'll actually meld all of them together and see what the total cost will be. So at that point, we'll have a pretty good idea. We had the designer go by and break it down from what is tornado-related and what wasn't tornado-related, and that's what we're looking at for the other buildings other than City Hall. And on Phase 3, we'll have a composite of everything to see exactly what we need to be done. Because we are deciding now whether we want manager at risk, and I think that's the way we may be going, so that one construction company actually handles the whole project. So that's what we have.
Okay, thank you, George. Yeah. And then, and maybe this is again for George, but in the water and sewer billing division budget overview, or budget summary, with the actual amounts for 12, 13, 14, there's a transfer out for $4.7 million for fiscal year 14, but it's not in fiscal year 12 or 13.
What number are you referring to, Brian?
So the last line, 596000,
Right here.
is a $4.7 million transfer out.
Oh, I know what that is.
Is that the shared services, like shared?
Services that's the portion of the water enterprise that's shared with the general fund. So
Okay,
that's what that
so why isn't it in 12 or 13?
Should have shown in 12. It's not shown in 12 or 13, but it was done, but that's the...
Yeah, that's what I knew that there were, because when I was putting my own spreadsheets together,
Yeah, right.
it looked like we were, a few million over in 14. And I guess that it was those shared services.
That's the shared services, right.
Okay. And then in terms of those shared services, I know we got a breakdown of a percentage, like different percentages of different departments as a whole.
Yeah, we gave you a breakdown on that.
Yeah. If we were to use that money, because a lot of it it's items that should be hitting the general fund, right? I mean, 25% of the mayor's budget, 25% of the auditor's budget, the whole budget, not just, all the salaries, not just an individual's salary. And it totals up to $4 million. If that $4 million was invested in more employees for the water and sewer department and not offsetting costs that are general fund costs,
I made it to the chair, Donnie.
we'd have, Donnie knew well enough to get out.
This is a good one. Well, let me just say this.
But just in terms of that,
I know what
I
you're
know
saying.
there's some cost sharing that needs to be done.
Right.
But if we're looking at, it's great that we're investing the money to have 7 new
Right.
individuals, but $4 million more in, in services or in people and in the ability to do things in the water and sewer department
Right.
would go a long way in what we're looking at, so.
Right,
I
but
just-
there are some shared costs because, say, for example, it's not economical to have somebody just be the auditor. It's not economical, and under the law, they can't be the auditor. You need that oversight. You need the oversight of the treasurer's office. You need the oversight of the mayor's office. And to actually, in all the other areas are going down. So what has to happen is that although you have your shared costs, there's no way, unless you make it say a water and sewer commission, that you can accomplish that. You have to remove it from city government. But I think even if you make it a water sewer division commission, you still have to have the oversight of the treasurer and the auditor and a few of the various departments.
You could still have that oversight without the cost sharing.
Well, it has to have the cost share because, say, for example, like I run the water and sewer billing. That's what I do. Under the law, I run the water sewer billing. So that takes up the X amount of time. Then we take in payrolls. And you're not going to run a separate payroll for just water, so we do payrolls. And then we do bills for the water and sewer. We pay the bills for the water and sewer. And, that's when the amount of time is taken. Then there's a lot of areas in the water and sewer department, the issues, especially with the consent decree. So a lot of us spend an inordinate amount of time in with the consent decree. There's meetings every week on that.
I spent probably more than 60% of my.
Right.
Well, and
Yeah,
I think,
that's just it.
I look at it, the DPW cost shares or the allocations make sense, right? Like, I could see that. I don't think that for some of the other departments, aside from shifting money over from the general
Right.
fund to the
Okay.
water and sewer enterprise fund, there's no need for that money to be shifted over because it doesn't change whether or not you're going to have oversight. Like, the auditor is still the auditor. She's going to have oversight of what happens in the city finances.
Right, but at
So-
the same time, they do expend energies for the water and
I
sewer department,
understand
right?
that.
So, but and that has to be credited to the water and sewer enterprise, and that's what we're doing, because the energies are being spent. And I understand your position to have more employees in the water and sewer department, and one of the things I do want to say is the fact with those 7 employees, we put those 7 employees in the budget, and what Dawn had said was that we didn't receive at the end, a CMOM report was put out and a organizational chart on the CMOM for the next year or two. And what we are doing is, along with those positions come a job qualification. So there's job descriptions with each one of those. So the people that are hired for that are going to be, because we're telling this, at the end of the day, we are setting to the DEP, the DOJ, and the EPA, that we are going to go along with what we have submitted to with them. We're going to follow it to that point. So I just wanted to make that clear. So the positions aren't something that, and I agree with Dawn, is that we need a number of positions for people to stay and have professional responsibilities, and so that they can handle that level of work. Because now the level of work and according to the consent decree, the level of work and the level of worker that you need present is, in the qualifications, the bar has gone higher. So I just want to make that clear, and that's one of the things that from here. But as far as what you're saying is, as the allocations of money, of personnel and time, we've had it reviewed by our auditors. It gets reviewed by DOR every year when we set the tax rate. So whether or not we can take a look at, okay, don't put certain people in certain positions, don't take certain people's time and so on and so forth. But again, they expend that energies, and we have the, under the way the enterprise funds law read, is that we have the right to take out that amount of money from the general fund.
Do we have a cap of cost allocation plan? So it would basically,
Go ahead.
I know for federal and state government, when a state government is using federal money, they have to come up with a cost allocation plan that shows how, certain functions, how the roles and responsibilities of certain positions end up getting kind of cut out, and
Oh, I see.
what the entire kind of
Right.
process is in the plan.
Okay. So-
I didn't know if we
We
have.
don't have a
I know we
cap.
probably don't have to have
No, we don't have a
one.
cap,
Okay.
and we don't have to have a cap,
Right.
and it's not required. However, we do have to meet certain regulations of the DOR, and if in the event they felt that, and they've questioned us on this, if they felt that we were subsidizing some of the general fund costs with the enterprise fund costs, we had to explain those out. And anytime they've asked, we've explained it out and actually given them much more detail than we usually do, and they've approved it. So as far as the cap is concerned, there's no regulation that requires us to have a cap because we're not receiving state or federal funds to do this.
Okay, and then my last question.
Yeah.
There are two big payments that come out of the non-payroll expenditures in the sewer division. One is $400,000 for National Water Main, and then one is the $750,000 that we pay to CDM Smith. Is that the total amount that we pay out to those companies?
That would be the total amount, I believe, for water main.
The way,
Yeah.
we'll start with CDM
Yeah.
Smith. There are
Right.
certain things that the SRF funding will not cover. So as part of the design phase of it, that has to come out of our operating budget. So that's why that $750,000 is in there. We also have $150,000 for legal fees.
Right.
There's National Water Main is one of those issues that we were talking to before, how we may be able to start sliding back out of that over the next couple of years and put a couple of more personnel in here. But we need to demonstrate to the DOJ and the EPA and the DEP that our staff is capable of going out there and cleaning these lines and maintaining them. And I think they are. It's just a matter of, we need the numbers.
Right.
I mean, we can't start cleaning a particular part of the city. I mean, we should be cleaning, inspecting, not just our sewers, but our drains 20% every year. So if you can't do that, you're going to run into problems. And this is how we got to this point. I mean, they kept cutting back. The operation and maintenance aspect of the Department of Public Works as it related to sewer and drain just fell apart over the last, 30-odd years or so. And so this is the reason why we have this Department of Justice consent decree. And I think we need to move away from some of these more expensive contractual things, but at the same time, before we jump into that, we have to ensure the DOJ and the EPA and the DEP that our staff that we have on board is capable of doing it, which I think they are. And I think we're heading down that road. And like you said, with some of these issues as relates to the offsets, that 400,000 is a whole process of, the enterprise fund.
Yeah, and I didn't know if they get paid in any other way by the city or by any other funds, or if there's, if they get paid, I mean, are they part of any bonding that we do? Do they end up getting paid out of any bonds that we end up approving?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to like certain things this might clarify. George will clarify some things, but, we have National Water Main, we've had them here for years, but they also bid on the stuff that Brown and Caldwell puts together, bid on stuff that CDM puts together in Weston and Sampson. If they win that bid, some years they're working for consultants,
Right.
and some years they're working for us.
For us, yeah.
And then this year, they happen to be working for both sides.
Right.
So these are the things that, they do, so obviously they're getting paid city funds just from different
Right.
accounts.
I didn't know, I guess, was wondering what the total amount would be that if we could see the total amount that, National Water Main or CDM Smith get paid out of all city money,
Right.
what is their kind of bottom line in terms of what they get paid?
Okay,
So-
what happens is, we did run that report, here's what would happen. We would have, say, CDM Smith, and, say, for example, if they received $2 million, they themselves they then paid that to vendors, okay,
Right.
on the city's behalf. So if we ran the report and said it was $2 million, CDM received the money, but the purpose of the money was to
They
pay vendors.
subcontract out and
They
they-
subcontract
right,
out. So that's one of the problems in running that, and that's something that it would be a very hard report. It wouldn't be a fair report to run because we wouldn't know how much they keep and how much they pay on vendors. So that's what happens with the CDM. Brown and Caldwell does the same thing, and I'm sure Western Stanton does
But
the same thing.
on a big picture,
Right.
we wouldn't be double counting anything. So if we were to run a report of vendors, you're not including the subcontractors, so.
We wouldn't know the subcon, that's the point. We would know,
Right.
we would
But
only know
you'd
how much
know-
we're paying out to CDM.
Right, you know
Or
what gets
Brown
paid
and
to
Caldwell.
CDM, and
Right.
they may subcontract some of that out.
And they'd contract that out and they would pay that. So we wouldn't know that amount. So it wouldn't be a fair judgment how much CDM actually is making on the city repair.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about what they actually made, but what
Right.
they're actually getting, or what they were
Well, if you're
kind
saying
of
what they're
given, or
getting
what
paid.
they had approved.
Right, but here's
you
what
know,
I'm
to
saying, but
expend.
it's saying, by saying, what do they get paid? This is what they got paid, is in
Right.
essence what they're making, so. But it wouldn't be a fair thing, and it'd be very hard for us to find out, I don't know, maybe it might be hard, but for us to find out how much they're paying their vendors on behalf of the city, because I don't know if that's something we have the right to ask for. I'm sure we can ask, but we can try to work on that.
Right, but it would still be a fair or accurate representation of what gets paid out by the city.
Yeah, well,
Right?
we will know how much is
because
paid out by
they're-
the city and how much is
Either
paid
way,
on the
they're
bonds.
doing that work. I mean, if they're subcontracting it out,
Right.
they're responsible for it. It's not, a report like that wouldn't be
Right, they'd probably have the
duplicative,
oversight. Right.
of different items, so.
Yeah.
They are
me
contracting it out, but they do put everything out to the public bidding process where
right.
everything it's not like we just hire them as our program manager and they just hire whoever they want.
Right.
It
Right.
has to go through the
They have
bidding
to follow the
process.
bidding
And they
process.
do generally go with the lowest qualified bidder that's capable of carrying out the test that's within the work that's put out to bid.
Councilor Hatz.
Through you to Donnie, we keep on talking about city services, the number of employees that we're lacking. Have you ever considered, as Chelsea did way back, going out and privatize certain segments of it?
I touched on that a little bit earlier. When they first came out with privatization, there was not this prevailing wage law, so, companies could come in and bid on it, but today, we're paying, I'll just use round numbers, not to put people, if we're paying our hoisting operators, which are guys who run the backhoes in the small excavators, we're roughly paying them $20 to $25 an hour. You have to pay prevailing wage. Now you're paying $50, $60, $70 an hour, like an electrician. We ran through that problem. We have an electrician on staff that we pay $44,000 a year to. Well, with this metering program, we have an issue with the grounding wire. You're talking about bringing in an electrician for $85 an hour plus benefits. So the privatization is really, not what it really used to be in terms of savings. Your long-term costs are not there, obviously, which your retirement, your health care. But if you package all this stuff together, if you can get good qualified people to come here and work in the city of Revere, I think it's better to go that way in some instances, because it all depends what your skill sets are, what the requirements are. And, based on the history of the DPW, there weren't all these requirements put on us by the federal government and other things. So as we grow, we need to bring in those professional skill sets so that we don't deal with the problems that we're dealing with today 20, 30 years from now. I think we're all here to improve and leave this place better than we found it, so our predecessors don't have to deal with a lot of the problems that we're dealing with now. And I think we're making great strides in that direction.
Thank you, Councilor Has. Any other councilors? Thank you, Donnie.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate the time.
See you
Thank
Monday.
Would you like to take the other departments? I'm gonna be I'm here anyways.
Next up, we'll have the Veterans Affairs. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening. In fiscal year 15, we established a food bank for the city of Revere for our veterans and their spouses. And we, at the present time, we service approximately 165 to 175 families a month. The food is provided to us from the Boston Food Bank. So I have Donna Dreesen, who works alongside with me, and she gets volunteers to help her out. And we have the Sheriff's Department there, thanks to the Bobby Rotundo and his crew, and to help us out bring the food products in. Also, we're doing, we collect food for Winthrop, as well as Stoneham, Melrose, Saugus, and Wakefield, and Chelsea. And hopefully, starting in August, Melrose and Wakefield and Saugus will be getting it directly, so we'll be, we won't have to distribute that food. We also take care of, as far as the going on cable TV and trying to promote patriotism with the younger generation. Memorial Day, we had a great turnout with the kids, and hopefully this will inspire some patriotism in them. They seem to enjoy themselves, and we had a great turnout. I've done approximately 60 cases. Doesn't sound like much, but with the VA, completing VA forms. We went to a seminar, and they're going to require us to do more. So we're filing for compensation and pensions, and as well as aid in attendance, upgrading 214s, the discharge papers. And so we're doing quite a bit. Donna in my office, like I said, she's, I get all the, like I said, I get all the acclimates, and she does all the work. So she's doing a great job for me, and that's the reason why I requested her. She was only working 30 hours, and I requested 39 hours, the increase of 39 hours for her, and this way she'll be able to assist me more. And the office is covered 9 hours more than when I'm out and visiting people at various at their homes. So basically, that's my spiel.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you for all the fantastic work that you do, you and Donna do. Memorial Day services are always a great turnout, and it's been really great the last couple of years. So thank you for the great work that you do. Any councilors? Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Were there 4 people in your department last fiscal year?
I have 2 people, just me and Donna. And the other people I have in the office are volunteers. They retired people who come in and they do some filing, and I have Bill Reedy comes in and helps out. Frank Zarro comes in, helps out, as well as Margaret, what's her last name? They're just volunteers. So, and they help me file, they shred papers, they do answering the phones and taking messages. And so I'm very, very fortunate to have them.
Because I noticed in the documents I got, there were 2 positions, actually the same position, clerk and typist, that said layoff.
Well, that clerk and typist is a antiquated term. I don't think we have any more clerks and typists in the working for the city. But Donna is more of a office manager. I mean, she schedules appointments. She takes care of the medicals, and also does some of the updating of the forms. So it's she clerk typist, antiquated terminology.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure no one got laid off. This might be a question for Mr. Anzoni. I noticed, do you know what the actual numbers were for fiscal year 2014 for veteran benefits?
So go back.
Okay.
42.
I see. Because I noticed in veterans' payroll, health insurance, and burial fees, there was a cut of $100,000. Is that because something was anticipated?
Actually, that was due to a number of clients who passed away, or they moved out of the city. So my caseload went from like 189 down to 169 clients.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't denying any veterans benefits at all.
No, the city has
Or
been
cutting
great.
back from that budget at all, because it's very important to them. Also, office supplies. I noticed that your recreational programs is basically, the amount spent is equivalent to your office supplies. Is there any way we can be more cost-effective, or? I know when you're looking at a $162 million budget and you're talking thousands of dollars, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up if you go through every department.
Just my toner for my copy machine, they run $119 each, and there's 4 of them in the machine. So, and they don't last very long. So, yeah, just toner alone, I probably spend a third of this, and the rest is for paperwork. And I mean, it's actually we really don't have enough, but for our office supplies.
And I'm sure you do a lot of advertising, promoting, and print a lot in that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're using toner and not ink cartridge. You're maximizing your print capacity. But thank you for answering the questions. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councilor Zibko. Thank you, Councilor Morabito. Sorry about that. Any other councilors? Thank you, Nick. And keep up the good work. Thank you.
Can I sit here for the next one too, so I don't have to get up and down? I appreciate it. Okay, if I sit there? Vicky, come on.
I gotta have my girl sit over here.
Oh, yeah, that,
Yeah.
okay, I'll get out. That's it? I'm not coming up for any answer questions, that's it.
There, you want to, this is portable.
Yeah.
George.
Welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you, Brian. Nice tie.
Yours isn't too bad either. Welcome, Dimple.
Chairman.
Yeah. I'm Nick Catnazzo, Director of Inspectional Service, City of Revere, and now I have Dimple Reyna here for Healthy Communities to answer any questions. It's another department we took on a couple of years back and keeps growing and growing, correct? As you all know, we took on a couple of big programs this year in our department, brand-new programs, one being 40U, which is a new ticketing system in the city of Revere. We also took on safe housing, which is a huge success also in the city, keeping the city safe from illegal apartments and illegal rooming houses. And so far, we've done 11 search warrants, 12 search warrants in the city. We've also did 2 evictions, total evictions on properties in the city. So this program's working remarkably well. The 40U program is working very well also. We're still working out some bugs like in any new program. In order to do that, we have to, anytime you put a new program in, you have to have the personnel to run the program. So we did have an increase in a position of 7.6 hours for Linda Redding, who's doing all the input work, which is really a hard job. And it's increased our secretary's work also, because we're doing collections now in our office also. We also just recently lost one of our chief building inspectors, Al Tellerico, who's moving on. We wish him luck to the town of Peabody, city of Peabody. He's going to be in charge of that department. So we got that position out for advertising, that position starting next week. So in that position, we also are adding, so right now we're down to 1.5 inspectors in the building department, which is totally inadequate for all the projects we got going in the city, as we all know and see everything building up, around us. So we're putting in for full-time for part-time inspector, Richard Dix, and that's a total of 17.50 hours. So, another week we'll only be down to 1.5 inspectors, like I said. We also are putting in for an assistant plumbing inspector at 18.46 hours. And that is a new position. We have, like you said, we have a lot of projects going. On Ward Street, we have 300 units going in. Waterfront Square, 500 units. We have, our building department is really busy at this time, as is our health department. I've never seen it so busy since I've been here 16 years. We're pretty busy. And our biggest problem is the office itself. We sort of ran out of room. We're looking into moving in with the school department and the McKinley School, and hopefully that will come because we have no room. We can't even fit another file in a drawer, and drawings are all over the place. So we are looking into that, and hopefully next year or the year after, we'll be able to do that and have the space to operate a good operation, also move Dimple's department over with us. So right now, we have a fairly large department, including the school nurses, which are down, as you know. We've got about 31 people somewhere around there, or abouts, So it's a fairly large department with multiple problems every single day, as you all know. People call our office and you guys, and, we try to fulfill our duties. Okay, I'll
Thank
take
you,
any
Nick.
questions. Sure.
Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly, I would be beyond me not to mention the fact that I speak with Nick at least 2 or 3 times a week in reference to area problems within Ward 3, and I certainly get nothing but the greatest respect and results when I work with him. He certainly is a pleasure to work with. Giving and stating the things you just stated, I mean, this is an opportunity. I think that at some point you've got to expand that staff somewhat. I can't imagine, just on what I give you as one counselor, now there's 11 of us, and if we all gave you the same type of activity I give you, I don't know how you guys do the work. And I get responses within a day or two. It's amazing the response time I get from inspectional services. And I'm not just saying that for the viewers to hear some good things. It's a fact. It's true. I had a case on Temple Street that was driving me crazy. His crew went down, and within weeks, we got good things happening there. You know, sanctioning against an absentee landlord and giving and providing relief for some of the area residents who live surround that property. And that's one of many in Ward 3 that I've had the assistance of Nick and his staff. I just can't say enough for what he does and operating that new program, which obviously every time you start a new program, there has to be an awareness out there from the public. Not every person in the city of Revere reads the Journal or the Advocate or watches the TV. So we have to educate them as we go along. And Nick has been great with working with that and having an understanding of people's needs that, you know. So I just can't say enough for him and his staff and the type of cooperation we receive, because that's very vital. If I can't service my constituents in a relatively quick fashion, I'm out of business. I mean, I'm no longer a counselor. And so that really is really my thoughts are that not just to retain my seat, but also to provide a service for my constituents. And with his assistance and his staff, I get it. And I certainly, any efforts that he needs in terms of finances, I'd be glad to assist. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. You know, I have a policy in my office, and any councilor or any even citizen calls me, I always get back to them. Might be a day or two because we have, like I said, we have a busy office. And I write those things down, and I make sure they're done, and I make sure it might not be something that they want to hear all the time, but it's a good policy that we get back to everybody. We don't let it lag on for weeks and weeks and weeks. That never will happen in our office, trust me.
Thank you, Councilor Guanasso. Councilor Janino.
Thank you. I just want to echo Councilor Guanasso's sentiments. I think he took the words right out of my mouth. You know, not only do you guys answer immediately, but there's always a follow-up. So it's never just an answer, hey, I'll look into it. It's always, I looked into it, this is what happened, this is where we're going from here. And I truly appreciate that, because out of all the departments that I call, you and Mr. Goodwin are the two that we call the most in terms of needs for constituents. So I want to thank you for your hard work. And you're both the most understaffed offices in the city. So it's really phenomenal the amount that you can achieve with the means that you have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Janino. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also, my dear colleague, Arthur Guanasso, what he stated, I have the cooperation I get from his department and Benedict Christopher at the building. It just helps so much. And you know, I have no mercy for these banks that leave these houses vacant. The worst thing that can happen to a neighborhood is a vacant house that's not taken care of. And we just finished, I put a complaint in on a house on Geneva Street, and he fined them, and now the house is fine. The bank finally put it up for sale. It's been like, I don't know, about 3 years.
Yeah.
These banks do not.
Yeah.
These banks do not care about the city of Revere, and they don't care about their property. For some reason, they don't care about paying their tax. You know, they pay their taxes. They do the, you know, but they let the property go. And thank God that he's there to he fined them, and now the house is finally up for sale. And we've been trying to get that to happen, you know, for a couple of years now, and it just, you know, it just takes a lot of work and effort for his department, and And I appreciate that, and I know I can look forward in the future to get it, if I need to do it again. But if any of the neighbors, any of the residents out there that have a similar problem with a vacant house or a foreclosure that they don't take care of, please call us counselors, and you know, we'll let, or you can call the inspection services. They'll take care of it. The only way it is going to get you're going to accomplish anything is we have to know what's going on out there. So, again, I want to thank you, Nick, for the cooperation and the hard work you do, and you and your inspectors. And I also I just read about the incident with one of your, the phone call, and please tell your inspectors to stay safe out there.
Yeah.
We don't want anything crazy to happen. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Council Patch.
Yeah, what he's Councilor Patch is talking about is that basically one of our inspectors got threatened, and with the new system, basically, that compared to the old system, 21D, our inspectors have to go out and they have to hang the violation on a door. And so, you know, there are some situations, I tell them never put yourself in danger, you know, but it's a little intimidating because I've went out there and I issue fines myself because I want to feel what the guys are feeling out there. And you could do this all day long, trust me, driving around the city. You could do it all day. We could put 5 more guys on. We could put 10 more guys on. We could make, you know, tons of money for the city, but that's not, we want to make the city cleaner. It's not about the money, bringing in the money like we were talking about with the park, and same thing. It's not about generating money. It's about making the city a better place to live, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Nick. Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of all the departments in the city, you know, I consider the building department the best and the most responsive as far as I'm concerned with issues. I just called up Tony yesterday, holiday, I forgot it was a holiday, responded immediately this morning. I mean, all the guys, they care about the city, they do a good job, and as Nick said, they get back to you immediately. You know, and you're always waiting for that phone call, and damn it, you're going to get it the next day or that day. I got a question there. Why are we getting the assistant building inspector? One's going part-time, one's going, what's that all about?
So you're talking about, we just lost the building inspector, like I said. Rick Dix, we're putting him in for full-time because we need more building inspectors out there. Right now, we've always had three and a half building inspectors.
So he'll be full-time?
Rick's going full-time. He was working 21.5 hours, and we're moving him to 39 full-time, so he'll be full-time. And like I said, we're losing a building inspector, so now we'll only have 2 right now, but we are in the process of writing up resumes. We got a new system in place, basically, where every position that we backfill in the city, that we're trying to write job descriptions and stuff like that.
Well, he's good, there's no question about it.
So it's critical right now that we have building inspectors out there, especially as you guys see in the weekend, you see people trying to come in, they're building decks, they're building.
To a new roof.
Yeah, I mean, new roofs on, you know, and these are some of the things, you know, I drive around, I live here, I drive around, I catch things and I write them down, and you know, I'm always around, you know. I do my...
What about the plumbing inspector?
Plumbing inspector, yeah. Plumbing
And
inspector.
assistant, yeah.
Yeah, the assistant, that's a new position. Basically, we...
You can advertise for that?
We're re-advertising the full-time position, and we're adding the assistant plumbing inspection position.
No, you're going to re-advertise for the acting plumbing inspector?
Yeah, because the pre-existing plumbing inspector has not been appointed, so he can also apply for that
I
position.
thought you had Mark in there.
We do.
So what's his position?
He is presently the plumbing inspector, but he's not the appointed plumbing inspector.
Well, I appointed him.
Excuse me?
I appointed him way back. That's the question, so no one's relieved him.
As far as I know, he's not appointed.
All right, I'll check that out. Okay. Yeah,
Present person in the position has never been
George,
appointed.
just speak to the microphone, please.
Okay.
Or just, it'll pick it up from here.
The present person in the position has not been appointed. We had it reviewed and has not been appointed as the plumbing inspector. He was appointed temporarily in 2007, and he's not a plumbing inspector at this time. You may have appointed him the assistant, but he was not appointed because when you were mayor, Paul Missiano was the plumbing inspector.
right, exactly.
Right. But the present plumbing inspector was not
And
appointed.
Tommy appointed him the temporary, right?
Acting,
Acting,
right.
but not the plumbing inspector.
Not the plumbing inspector, not the permanent
All
plumbing
right,
inspector, correct?
we'll check that. Thank you, George.
Okay, good check.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Has. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to give you accolades for a well-run department. Thank you. Not only are you reactive, your department is very proactive to ensure that things don't get to a issue and escalate. Whenever I call the department, you're very approachable, reachable, and respond quickly. And not only that, what a lot of people don't realize is your department works hand in hand with a lot of the nonprofits in Revere, like the Beach Pond Improvement Committee and the Revere Beautification Committee.
Correct.
And you really serve them well by handling all their issues that they bring before you. So I commend you on that as well.
Thank you.
One question I do have is, what was the revenue received from trash ordinance violations? Is that in the
Yeah.
budget?
As a matter of fact, Brian, I usually give you that. That's for the three departments. Yeah. Basically, let me just take a look here. Okay, I got to get 4 more reports from the auditor's office for the 21D violations. Right now, it stands at $58,990. It's a lot more than that. It's probably going to come close to $100,000. And on the health liens off of those 21D violations, which we don't write anymore, we're doing into 40U now. I don't know if that makes sense. We were writing 21D violations, now we changed over to this new system, and now we're writing 40U, no more 21Ds. But last year on the 21Ds, the health liens, we brought in $96,990. And then on the 21Ds, like I said, we have 4 more reports. Actually, we have 6 more reports to go. So we'll be over 100,000 on that. So approximately on those 2 violations on fines, probably 220,000 around that I estimate. Yeah.
Thank you. And
Sure.
let me just clarify, in no way, shape, or form am I for ticketing, but I am in favor of making sure our city is beautified and getting things
Well, the
corrected.
comment on that, just quickly, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but the comment on that is basically, when I first started this job 16 years ago, the way to get somebody to clean up their property or make them correct the violation was we had to send them a letter. There was no fine involved. Send them a letter. You know what they did? Well, they threw it in a bucket because they didn't care. So when you start hitting people in the pocketbook who are violators of I'm not talking, a lot of people don't really know some of the things. That's why we have the hearings, but there are people who are constantly violating, our city ordinances and stuff like that. And those are the people we really want to find.
You're the experienced veteran here, and I take your word on it.
Thank you, Councilor Morabito. Councilor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This isn't necessarily related directly to the budget, but it seems like that doesn't really matter much up here tonight. So I'm going to ask you, that's kind of a hybrid question, I agree that you guys are very responsive, not only responsive, but you actually pick up the phone now and then. That's a very good thing. But in any case, we had, when we had that issue down before Joanne was elected down on right behind the restaurant there on Wilson Street. 30
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah.
And I guess it was owned by the bank. And my question is that since we put in this 40U, how responsive have you found, first of all, have we identified bank-owned properties? Because to me, that was where we're really taking our home run swing on this 40U program, at the bank-owned properties, because, you know, they're the ones that seem to be consistently negligent and consistently uncaring about the property. And I know that they did get someone down in that 30 Wilson to take care of the property somewhat, but you know it's only going to be until the next time something goes wrong.
Right.
So, well, I guess what I want to know is, if you have any idea how many of these bank-owned properties we've actually been able to cite, and what the response has been from them, and if there are any particular institutions that are more or less responsive to us when we get in touch with them. I know there's quite a few institutions that own property in the city.
Well, basically, Council, we go on our Safe Housing Committee, which we meet once a month. There's 5 or 6 of us, including the city attorney, outside counsel, myself, members of the mayor's office. We meet and go over the worst of the worst properties. What we do with those properties is that, like I said, we pull out warrants on those people that don't respond to us, because you need a search warrant to go in and see if they are. You can't find somebody on a whim and say, that's an illegal apartment. How do you know? You haven't been in there. The only way we can get in there is we do a search warrant. I do all the search warrants for the city. We bring them into court. We've been 12 for 12. Every one bad property we went after, we wrote the warrants up, went in there. We did one today, as a matter of fact, on Victoria Street. We go in there, we write up, it's called an order to correct. The minute we write that order to correct and send it out within 3 or 4 days, we can start finding that property $500 a day. And these are some bank-owned properties, to answer to your question. We've built out some tremendous fees with these fines on these properties. We're probably on 12 or 13 properties now, we're probably close to the $300,000 mark.
Well, have we gotten paid yet, is I guess what I really want to know.
We will collect our money in the end. Trust me, when the bank goes to sell that property.
Oh, I'm aware of that.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line.
It's a waiting game, as you know. I mean, you know, that's all we can do. But every single day, those properties are getting fined.
It's true, but the purpose of this is to get them to maintain the properties.
Absolutely.
I mean, as much as we'll take the second option, which is to get the money,
Yep.
the purpose is that, you know, public safety suggests that, great, we wait until they sell the house 2 or 3 years down the road, we still got a terrible public
Yeah.
safety issue going on.
Well, that's not necessarily true, because the second part of the, Counselor, is that we go after receivership on these properties. The worst of the worst, I think we got 3 right now we're going for receivership on. And that's what we're trying to do. We get those, we go into court, and we appoint a receiver, house gets fixed up and sold. And we have multiple ways that we work on that. I work with the AG's office also, as some of you may know or don't know. We work with the AG's office on some of the real bad properties that nobody wants to handle. I bring in the AG's office. We've done 5 or 6 properties, one on Washington Ave, if you 357, Councilor Patch might know about that. We've did a couple off of Shirley Ave with the AG's office. They've been a tremendous help to the city. So we do have a lot of mechanisms. Do we know, you know, with banks, there's a lot of research, as you know, as an attorney, Counselor, that you have to do a lot of research behind these to find out who owns them, because it goes deeper than just looking into the assessor's records. So we have ways of doing that. We have outside counsel working with us now, giving us all the right ways of doing things, the proper ways, the legal ways, so the city doesn't get in trouble. So that's what we've been doing. Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Reardon. Nick, in terms of the Safe Housing Initiative,
Yes.
is there any plan to have an employee that is kind of doing that full-time, or like a point person for that initiative? I know it's probably you, but...
Well, basically, it's me.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, you have other things to do.
Well, that's true. I mean,
Is there, I mean, and it bears I think it's important enough that it, by everyone's, speeches up tonight,
Right.
how important it is and how that is probably a priority issue. But you still have to manage staff. There are other things that you have to do.
Right.
Is there any kind of
Well,
thought
well,
about-
there's no future thing of that. It basically, it's got to be a joint, you need like a sort of a committee, but I know what you're saying, just put one person in
Have like a
charge of.
point- have a
Yeah,
point.
yeah, like a point person. It would be great to have a position like that,
Right.
but right now with the finances the way they are in the city, you'd have to really, add another position, so.
Well, and I only ask because we're adding a part-time position, but.
Yeah.
Is there in terms of that acting plumbing inspector and the assistant plumbing inspector, is there a need for the additional part-time position? Or?
Well, there is a lot of work in that position we found, there's different aspects of, there's gas, there's plumbing, it's a real busy position, it is.
So there is a need, I mean, and it sounds like aside from the appointed, non-appointed issue that Councilor had brought
Right.
up, how have we had two plumbing inspectors, or one and a half?
Yes, we have,
before?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We had Bob Missiano
Right.
and Mark
And
Law.
Mark,
Yeah,
right.
we had two full-time plumbing inspectors, yeah. Then we had, I think Mark was, he got appointed full-time after that. It was 1.5, just like it is now.
Okay.
Just like it is now, yeah.
So in terms of the health division, I know there's a new position, clerk typist position. Is that going to be advertised, and is there a job description for that?
Clerk typist, is that the one?
That's the
That's
health
out of Dimple's department. So, you want to answer that? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
To answer your questions, yes, it will be advertised to the public, and there is a job description. I can give you a copy now.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the position, just because I haven't looked at this yet, is to do what?
The position is listed as clerical, but would serve as a purpose of administrative support for the department, for healthy community initiatives, for general duties of filing and also reporting, reconciliation, assisting with calendars, schedules. We have a very busy and growing department, and we have seen a much-needed admin support need, especially over the last 6 months. We're adding another part-time staff coming this fall, and we're just going to need some extra support to get our administrative duties out done in a timely fashion.
And thank you. I know you guys do a lot of great work, and a lot of work funded by grants and no kind of direct cost to the taxpayer, which is always good. So
May I just add one thing that, when I took over this department, I really wasn't too sure of what they did, so I had to really dig into it. But I'll tell you, they do a tremendous job, doing things. I don't think there's many cities that have.
Right, to get into the community, right?
Tremendous community things, and they're always out there at nighttime, and people don't realize what they do. I didn't realize what they do. And I really, you learn to appreciate what they do for the city and the children of the city and all the great programs that they have. And, I'm glad I'm in charge of them now, and they keep growing. So it's a really great pleasure to have them on board with our department,
Thank you. Any other councilors? Oh, Council Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Dimple myself because from the beginning, when she started working for the city, she just did started doing such tremendous work in my ward, and she got people involved it's a credit for her, and I was glad she got a promotion because she deserved it, and like Nick said, when you learn how important they are to the city, that department, they just do so much for the city, and I want to thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Patcha. And I'll just kind of end with one note. I know as part of DIPL, the work that you guys do, you have the MOA-PC program manager. Is there, and it might be more for Nick, but, and that position's not a city-funded position, but do we have anybody, or is there any plan to have somebody who is a point person again on opioid issues and addiction issues that is out of the city budget, that would be kind of a point person that we have on staff? And I talked about a little bit with planning and community development to have a person on staff for traffic, right? We don't have anybody on staff that is a traffic engineer. These are quality of life issues that, you know, can really impact a community. Is there any kind of plan, or is there any thought about having somebody that's on staff that is doing some of this work, who can help facilitate and help out with the MOA-PC side?
Basically, to answer your question right now, we're working right now with the, you might know, I don't know, we're working with Chelsea and Chelsea, Revere, and Winthrop right now to try to hire a point person for all three cities with similar problems that you just mentioned, like the opiates, and which is huge in all three cities. So we are working right now to hire that particular person. Will be basically not the health director, but in charge of these type of issues, that would oversee all three cities and be the point person for that particular reason. As a matter of fact, we're having a meeting in Winthrop Town Hall, I believe it is, in a couple of weeks.
Would
I
that be
can
out
give
of
you
grant
that.
money, or would that be kind of a cost sharing between the three communities? that they would all
Well, yeah,
pool in?
basically, they haven't worked out the logistics behind it, the mayors and the town managers. Chelsea was going to pay a large portion of that, and in turn, you got to give back a little somewhere. So I don't know how it's going to work. You know, I've been involved in the talks, but it's up to the three mayors and town managers how they're going to work out the logistics behind that and the salary. It's a pretty good paying position, so it's going to be somebody who's well-educated and be in charge of all those three cities and help us out in that end where we really don't do enough.
Right.
You know, and that's where, and I agree with you, that's where we really have to step it up, you know?
And my only concern would be that when you're, you know, sharing services with other communities, especially if a community puts in a lot more money,
Yeah.
they're going to feel more entitled to
Well,
the services.
yeah,
and where this is an issue that I think out of the three communities, we are probably the most hard hit. You know, we need
Right.
the services as much as possible.
Sure, no, I agree.
But, you know, maybe
All
that's a
right.
conversation for.
Yeah,
for
but,
future.
yeah, I think we got that meeting in a couple of weeks, we're meeting again on that.
Okay, great.
So, I'll let you know.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Thank you, Dimple.
Thank you, Brian.
Great job. Keep it up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank
Night,
you.
guys.
All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Good job, guys. Good job. Thank you.
Next up, we are going to have the city clerk.
Good evening,
Madam Clerk.
Chairman Arrigo. We're keeping, besides contractual increases, the salaries are going to remain the same, no increases at all. We are, one of my part-time assistant clerks will be retiring next week. That's Rosemary, but her position was fully funded by the parking meter violations, so you won't see any change there. Longevity will be decreasing slightly because of Rosemary's retirement, and then office supplies are staying at $30,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any councilors? Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a great portion of the budget. It's very lean. We appreciate all the work that you do here for the city council, because before any of our questions get to inspectional services or to the DPW, they often go through you to figure out where to send them to. So I do appreciate your help, and thank you. You put together a really great budget this year.
Thank you, Councilor Janino. Councilor Morabito?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to thank you for a job well done. You are a city, you basically do all the secretarial work for us. You guide us in the right direction, and I applaud you for all your efforts in your department.
Thank you, Councilor Morabito. Madam Clerk, you do a terrific job, and keep it up. Thank you. And George, just before we close, I know there were a couple of communications that were sent to the council about additional appropriations, and I don't know if you want to speak on them or.
Well, first, let's see. Let me just get the communications in front of me. There was a communications on the transfers from the water and sewer, excuse me, the general fund free cash in order to, you know something, I don't have them on me. I left my office tonight.
So I have them.
You have them? You have a copy that I can have?
So the,
There was a transfer of free cash for an amount of $2,591,000, some change for the, to supplement the budget for fiscal year 16. So that's one. And the other is, part of that is the
$1.5 million.
Well, we have the 2.591023 to be transferred to the supplement the budget for fiscal year 16. And then there is the free cash general fund to the stabilization account of $2,074,686.95, and that's so that we can utilize that money next year. We don't lose it at the end of the year. The other is the water and sewer free cash, and that's going to the water and sewer stabilization fund of $1,557,753.75. Again, this is necessary to allow the city to have the funds available at the end of the year. The total amount in the general fund account will then become, once these transfers, if they are effected, the total amount in the general fund will be, stabilization account will be $5,838,591.95. And then the free cash in the water and sewer enterprise fund will be $2,827,784.75. So that's the free cash in general fund, free cash for the general fund in the water and sewer, and the transfer to the supplement the budget. The other is on the water and sewer rate. We want to discuss that tonight, or if you want to wait till Monday night, water and sewer enterprises. But the rates that are shown, you have a copy of that one? Okay. The rates that are shown are what the superintendent of public works and the statute has the, on the city ordinance has the right to, has the authority to set a new sewer rate. The new sewer rate, and with the new water rate, totals an amount for 100 cubic feet. So what it would be is for the combined commercial rate will be $23.10 for 100 cubic feet, and the residential rate will be 15.62 cents for the residential rate. The combined rate will increase by 3 3/8% for the commercial and 1.94% for the residential. There's also a communication that to increase the appropriation of the budget to $169,220,571, The reason for this is because the bonded debt amount of $747,544 needs to be included, is required to be included in the fiscal 2016 budget. The bonded debt principal account amount is $465,000 to be appropriated that account from the $747,544, and the bonded debt interest account to be increased by $282,544. And those are the communications that I have.
So in terms of the appropriations being increased by the $747,000, does the $2.5 million in free cash cover that? Because I know we had known going into last night that we would need $2.5 million in free cash.
Right.
And I think there's still a question of whether or not we need another $1 million from stabilization that was on the balance sheet that we have in the budget. But this would, in addition, and with all that, we were kind of at a net zero. This additional appropriation, I would think, would be on top of that, creating a $747,000 deficit.
Right. No.
And we'd have to increase the amount of either free cash or we'd have to increase the amount of revenue in the budget.
Right. No, that's not the case. The amounts for the, we knew at the time of the drilling down on the amount that was necessary of the 2.5 for the amount of free cash to supplement the budget, that the $774,000 was needed in the bonded debt account. But at the time of submission of the budget, it wasn't available. So we put that into our estimates for the 16 and 17 and 18. However, when we did do this statement for the recommended budget overall detail, so giving the breakdown of the revenue expenses and showing online where it says TF from stabilization fund, if you take that $1,046,973, you add to it the $800,000 that shows up on a recap sheet, which isn't included anywhere else in these numbers, plus the 700 some odd thousand, you can see where you get to the 2.591. So if you take the stabilization, and we were never planning to take it from the stabilization fund, that was incorrect, incorrectly placed there. So it'll be, we can just put the free cash in that amount, transferred from the free cash instead of the stabilization fund. That was an oversight, and that needs to be corrected. So the total amount we're going to need from the free cash and nothing else from the stabilization fund to supplement the budget as presented is the $2,591,000. And if you look at the 1046973, and there's 800,000 that we carry for our overlay, which overlay is the amount that we carry on our recap sheet for potential abatements, and it comes off as an expense. And then beyond that, the $774,000 for the additional bonded debt increase. So that number there is correct with the addition of those two. And if you want, I will have this reprinted. And the transfer from the stabilization fund is free cash. It'd be free cash and not the stabilization fund. However, when you look at the other statements, looking at the projections for 2017 and 2018, we have in there the numbers, including the $774,000 amount. So,
and so in 17 and 18, we would be assuming, we'd be assuming $2.5 million each year coming from free cash,
that's correct.
which may or may not happen.
No, that's coming from free cash,
The
right.
$2.5 million being available in
Okay.
free cash may or may not happen.
May or may not happen, that's correct. Our estimate is, however, we sat down and we looked at our estimates and see we feel that $2.5 million for the next 2 years is a number that what the city will receive and be certified is a reasonable number. And looking at that, and then with the projection here, it's somewhat a wash,
Well, and just to be clear, before 2012, we've never had more than $2.5 million in free cash. In fact, we've certified as low as $145,000 in free cash. So, I know that the $6 million this year is an anomaly, and $2.5 of that has to be used for the operating budget, just like $2.5 needed to be used last year.
Right.
But continuing that, it is a little bit concerning to hear that continuing into our projections for 17 and 18, that we're going to be banking on the $2.5 million each year in free cash to help balance the budget.
Well, we have the $2.5 million in there, and the reason we have that in there, because when we do our projections, we do them conservatively. If you look at, we estimated maybe, in the last year, we estimated maybe $2 million in free cash. In fact, I think I said in front of this council, I think we're going to get less than $1 million, and we ended up with $6 million. So, looking at that, and that's not saying that just my estimates are incorrect, I'm certain when the numbers go on the sheets that they are conservative. Our revenue numbers are conservative that we're using. Our new growth numbers are conservative at what we're using. I mean, it's not a problem for the city if we're conservative. It does become a problem when the city isn't conservative, and when you're doing your projections, because that could lead you into shortfall. However, what does happen, and we've played it out here, what does happen is you have your new growth, which is your 2.5% of what your previous year figure is added on, your levy limit is increased each year by 2.5% plus your new growth. Looking now at what the numbers I have, I looked at various things that are going to be coming into surplus. We had a great bond sale where they wanted our bond so badly that they paid a $1.2 million premium for. Some of that is going to be put into the school account, and the remaining amount, because we have a city ordinance and a state law that says that money that is from the sale of bonds, interest from the sale of bonds and premium on the bonds, will go into that account to pay bonded debt for our schools. So a portion of that will go into that account, and then the other portion will drop right to free cash. So that allows us to have that amount available to look at free cash. And, I'm giving a simple equation here, but this is one of them. And right now, at the beginning of June, I had a $700,000 surplus in excise tax collections. So by the end of the month, you're probably going to have another 300,000. 200,000 or 300,000. So looking at it, we're well on the way to getting that 2.5 million and seeing that will probably be. But however, when I made my projections for the future, I did not increase the excise taxes by a large amount. I pegged them at 4.3 when we're already at that amount. Our expectations this year are 4.8, 4.9. So I pegged them at 4.3, think it was a conservative number, and conservative enough that we could live with. Projections are always, as you know, a moving force. There's a lot of variables. It's not an exact science, but it's something that, again, being conservative is a safe way to do it for the city, and that's what we've done. I do, however, want to take this opportunity from the whole finance team to apologize to the city council and the York committee, the Ways and Means, that the page numbers were not included, and I know it's caused everyone a bit of concern, and I know it's very inconvenient. However, we apologize, and we're correcting the situation, okay?
Hopefully it doesn't cost a budget award going forward. Hopefully it doesn't cost a budget award going forward.
Yeah.
Not having page numbers.
Not having page numbers. Okay.
So in terms of the $6 million free cash amount,
Right.
I know at the end of the day, our free cash is basically what we budgeted versus what we spent, and it's what's ever left over. right?
Right, well, and then you have to add into their estimated revenues.
Right.
And then you have any deficits you have.
Right.
So those two have to be placed against each other.
So in what accounts did we end up having the 6 million, what made up the $6 million? In what
Well, what made up the $6
accounts were
million,
there
a lot of it
kind of
is-
surpluses?
Yeah, one of the major factors, I feel, in the calculation of free cash, looking at the formulas, is the high collection rate we have in delinquent taxes. We are very aggressive on that, and again, I've already collected $2.5 million on, at this point, and this is a large month coming up because we had the advertisements in the papers and we have the filings this month. But so far this month, as of June 1st, we collected $2.5 million, and that adds a large amount to the free cash. This year, the anomaly is because certain things that are in there. There was, we had a late billing of $700,000 for motor vehicle. And then we had about approximately $1.6 million, I believe, in Medicare that we carried for, oddly enough, we carried that for a number of years. And for some reason, this year, I'm not quite clear why, and we had it in reserve and we held it there. We've had it for a few years. That came out and
So
let me-
in terms of that, that was carried as a, not as free cash,
No, that
but
was
it was
carried as
carried
Medicare
as
reserve.
as a reserve.
As a reserve, so that was carried as a reserve. They pulled it out and you put it against free cash.
And so that was for Medicaid,
Medicare,
Medicare?
yeah.
And is that for, is that an amount of money that we may need to spend at some point?
No, that's actually in that free cash number, $6 million, so.
Right. But I'm saying it was allocated for something, right? It was allocated for
No,
Medicare.
it wasn't. That's the problem was, it wasn't. It's something that the government sends us and that we never allocated it for anything. We never used it. We just never used it. We never we never allocated it at any point in time, and they saw it and they required us to put it into the free cash. So that's one of the big numbers, and that and the $700,000 are one of the big numbers, the unusual numbers of why we had $6 million for free cash.
Right. And the 6, I mean, it is being used, and it will continue to be used in the future. So anytime we look at a free cash amount that's certified,
Right.
we kind of have to deduct $2.5 million because it's going to be funding our operating
Well,
budget
it'll be
going
funding our
forward.
operating budget, but what happens, it's odd in the sense that, I'll tell you why, is in the sense that is, as the, again, each year you have available to you your new growth, and you have new revenues. We have new revenue source this year of 40 U's, which is an estimate from the attorney's office that is like $3 million over the next 3 years, up to $3 million, or over $3 million, actually. I think he said 3.2. And now on that, I only put $700,000 in this budget because of the fact that, okay, I want to find out first, how much am I really going to check? That's an estimate. And they're very confident about that. So really, I should have put in there maybe $1 million, but I put $700,000. And with that, what happens when you underestimate, it's a good thing because of the fact that you'll have a surplus. And the surplus drops to free cash. And not that we're trying to create a free cash number,
Right.
but I would rather be conservative. And when I talk to the financial markets, I think one of the areas they appreciate is the fact that I am conservative, and I tell them that. I never explode a number, and I won't explode a number. And as I said, they were so enthusiastic, and we had a very low rate on that, and we had 8 bidders on it. We got $1.2 million in premiums. So you can support a lot of things with $1.2 million in premiums. We again had that refunding loan, that $230,000 over the life of the loan, the remaining life of the loan we had. So I mean, there's some look at us and saying, okay, people, investors, major investors seem to be looking at us because there's companies on there I've never seen bid on us, on the city repair in all the years I've been here, that are saying, this seems to be a good investment. And with a AA rating, a AA minus rating, it's one of the highest it's the highest we've ever had. And I'm not saying this because, so that, they're sort of like puffing things up. I'm saying this because I have to take all of this in consideration when I make any type of decision, and I want to make that clear so that when we're doing it, and when we do, again, do our numbers, and everybody in the financial team knows I want conservative numbers, and if you give me a number, I want a reason for it. And they have to explain it away, so they have.
Thank you, George. Council Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what is the total dollar amount right now in reserves?
The total dollar amount in reserves in the stabilization fund would be, let's see.
Is it
The total amount in the stabilization fund, if I had my worksheets.
2.9, right?
2.9. No. Well, she has in the back here. Okay, what the balance is now. I haven't
And that's including the 1.6 for Medicare?
No, that's in the free cash still.
So that's in the free cash?
Right, that's in the free cash.
Okay, so I see.
Right.
Okay.
Two separate, yeah.
So I have all these numbers, so.
So this is 2.9 is what's in there now. We're going to put 2 million more into it,
Okay.
and then we need to use 2.5 for it to use it.
That makes sense. Now, on the 1.2 million bond payment that we got,
Right.
we're going to pay, you said a portion of it is, we're going to pay a bonded debt for the school system, correct? Now, you said.
$400,000 of it.
How much?
About $400,000 of it will go to this. We have a city ordinance and a special act that was passed a few years ago that when we started our school construction, special act was passed that any monies that we receive from premiums on the sales of the bonds and any interest earned on the income from the bonds goes into this account, and from that account we use it to, it becomes a reserve account for the school bonds or school bands, and we use it out of that, we use the money out of that account.
Okay, so that's 400,000 into the school system, so one.
Not in the school system, it's
No,
the city
no, not
account.
the school system,
Right.
sorry about that, it's getting kind of late. So 1.8 million would be going into reserves, not reserves, free cash?
Well, it's the 4 million, the 400,000 off of the 1.2, so you're down to 800,000. So the 800,000 will be going to free cash.
800, oh yeah, 800 and 400,
Right.
1.2, yeah,
Okay.
okay, that's right,
Okay.
thanks.
And one last thing, are we going to get a recap sheet for 16? Like, so of
I'll give you a pro forma recap sheet.
right, for
Okay.
fiscal year 16?
Right.
Okay.
And, I'm off tomorrow, so.
If we could get that sooner rather than later.
Monday morning, okay, or
What's
too
that?
late? Monday morning, okay, or is that too late? You
If
want
we could
sooner
get
than
it,
that?
if we could get it tomorrow, that would be.
Okay,
well,
fine, I'm
I-
off tomorrow, but I'll
yeah,
come to
you're-
work. That's fine. I'll get it for you. Can I just
Right,
give it to Ashley?
and Monday, we have a meeting with
Right.
police and fire and a few
I'll be here
other
for those.
departments, so
Right, I'll be here for those.
hopefully we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Any
So
other
we passing the
councils?
budget Monday night, what's the first meeting, 4 o'clock? Because I have to come back from the Cape to make the meeting.
Our next meeting will be at 4 o'clock
4
on
o'clock?
Monday.
Okay, so
That's
I'll
correct.
be back.
Okay. Thank you, George, for sticking around. Thank you, Ashley, for all your great work. And this concludes tonight's Ways and Means meeting. Thank you.